Have you ever felt like sadness is taking over you? Like hopelessness is dragging you into an abyss and each day seems just a little darker? There are moments in life when we lose hope, and joy feels like nothing more than a distant memory. It's like being trapped in a never-ending storm. Hours pass, even days, and the pain only grows harder to bear. But what if I told you that even in the darkest moments, you can find the strength to light your way? Yes, my friend, not only can you do it, but everything you need is already within you. In this video, I'll share 12 Stoic lessons that will help you overcome sadness and despair, just like they helped me. And believe me, I'm not here to sugarcoat things or feed you empty platitudes. This is pure Stoicism. Practical principles that will transform how you face life's toughest moments. These teachings are crafted to restore the strength, clarity, and hope you thought you had lost. Are you ready to reclaim the joy you once had? Will you accept the challenge to banish despair from your life once and for all without holding back? Let's begin. 1. Accept what you feel. My friend, have you ever woken up with such a deep emptiness that even breathing feels like a struggle? Maybe you're stuck in that cycle right now, trying to ignore what you feel, as if pretending everything is fine could somehow fix it. Believe me, we've all been there. But here's the truth. The more you fight your emotions, the stronger they become. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. You know what happens, right? It slips right through your fingers. But why do we feel this need to run away from our most difficult emotions? The Stoics understood that emotions aren't enemies to be defeated. They saw them as signals to be calmly observed. Think about it. It makes sense. Fighting what we feel only gives it more power over us. So, what can we do instead? The key lies in accepting our emotions as a natural part of the human experience. Because that's what we are, right? Just humans, trying to navigate this journey called life. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your judgment of it. And this, you have the power to revoke at any moment." See? It's not about ignoring pain, but seeing it for what it is, a signal, not a sentence. When you accept your emotions, you stop feeding them with resistance. Science backs this up too. A study published in the journal Emotion found that accepting all our emotions, not just the positive ones, actually reduces their intensity over time. Researchers discovered that people who practice emotional acceptance experience less anxiety and sadness. Why does this happen? It's like turning off an alarm that's been blaring in your head for hours. By no longer resisting what you feel, your brain stops treating it like a fire to extinguish and starts seeing it as a passing breeze. Picture a regular morning. You wake up feeling empty. You tried distracting yourself with your phone, work, or even activities that usually cheer you up, but nothing works. Those feelings are still there, like an unwanted guest who refuses to leave. And then frustration sets in. Let's be honest, who likes feeling that way? So when those emotions hit you hard, the first thing you can do is stop running from them. Give them space, as if inviting an old friend to sit with you. Call them by name: sadness, fear, frustration, whatever it is. Naming them is like looking them in the eye and saying, "I see you, but you don't control me." Another thing that can help is breathing. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But trust me, it works. Take a moment to focus on your breath. Notice how the air flows in and out. Do it slowly, without rushing. It's a way to remind yourself that you're here, in the present moment, and that this emotion will pass too. Finally, ask yourself what this emotion is trying to tell you. Emotions are like messages. Sometimes they're shouting at you that something isn't right, that you need to make a change or pay attention to something important. Listen without fear, because within that message might lie the first step to feeling better. So, my friend, the next time sadness feels like it's winning, remember, you're not in a battle with your emotions. Learn to listen to them, to let them be, and you'll see they hold far less power than you think. It's a simple step, but it's the first one toward reclaiming hope and taking back control of your life. 2. Find purpose in pain. Picture this. You're lost in the middle of a dark forest. Fog blankets everything, no paths are visible, and every step feels more hopeless than the last. You feel trapped, unsure of where to go, and with each passing minute, the emptiness only grows. But then, in the distance, you see a small light. It doesn't light up the whole forest, but it's enough to guide your next step. That's how pain works. It's not the end of the road, but a signal that can help you find direction. Seneca, in his letters to Lucilius, wrote, "It's not the torment that makes us suffer, but our fear of the torment." Think about that for a moment. Often, it's not the pain itself that consumes us, but how we anticipate or magnify it in our minds. It's like zooming in 3 times on a camera. The Stoics teach us that by accepting pain as a natural part of life, we strip it of its power. And trust me, that changes everything. Do you know who truly understood this lesson? Edith Eger. You may not have heard of her, but let me tell you her story. Edith survived the Holocaust. Imagine the suffering she endured, or rather, we can't even begin to imagine it. For years, she carried the weight of that trauma until she chose to confront it. She didn't ignore it or bury it. She accepted it and found a purpose within it. Do you know what that purpose was? Helping others. Today, as a psychologist, she uses her experience to help others overcome their own pain. She says, pain doesn't go away, but we can learn to live with it, to accept it, and to grow from it. Can you see how transformative that mindset can be? Now let me be clear. Accepting pain doesn't mean resigning to it. It's not about saying, this is just how it is, and letting it consume you. It's about understanding it and using it as a tool to grow. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine this. You've had a fight with a friend you've always considered family. They said something deeply hurtful, and you responded with something equally harsh. Now you're sitting alone in your room, feeling the pain eating away at you. Every time you replay the argument in your head, the words hit you like punches. You ask yourself, how did we get here? Is this relationship broken for good? In moments like these, it's easy to stay trapped in the pain, replaying the scene over and over, searching for someone to blame. But there's something you can do. Grab a blank sheet of paper and divide it into 3 columns. In the first, write down what happened. I fought with my best friend. We said hurtful things. In the second, write how you feel. I'm sad, angry, disappointed. And in the third, write what you can learn from this experience. Maybe you realize you need to work on your patience, or that this relationship is worth the effort to mend. Perhaps you even discover that the argument was an opportunity to be honest about something you've been holding back. And if the weight still feels too heavy, go for a walk. Think about that relationship as you move. Ask yourself, what really matters here? Is this temporary pain more important than the bond we've built over the years? Reflecting while in motion can help you find answers that seem impossible when you're stuck in one place. Remember, the pain you feel now doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be the beginning of something new, a chance to heal, to learn, to reconnect. Because even when it feels like everything is broken, pain often reveals the cracks that need repair. You just have to be brave enough to face it head on. If this content is bringing value to your life, consider subscribing and becoming an exclusive member to access unique benefits. And let us know in the comments, which lesson will you start applying today to overcome sadness and find hope? We want to grow alongside you. 3. Take control of your inner world. Think of your mind as a bustling train station at rush hour. Each thought is like a lost tourist, all talking at once, asking for directions, running back and forth. It's chaos. And there you are, right in the middle, trying to find some calm while those voices push you in every direction. But listen, what if you were the guide for those thoughts instead of letting them drag you around? What if you could organize the chaos and create space for what really matters? The Stoics understood this mental disorder better than anyone. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Take a moment to let that sink in. When sadness and despair take over, it's not the situation itself creating that emptiness. So what is it? It's the stories your mind is spinning about what's happening. It's like those noisy tourists shouting that the train is gone when, in reality, the train is still there, waiting for you to take control. Think of Epictetus. Can you imagine the suffering and despair he must have felt? His life as a slave was anything but easy. He could have given in to hopelessness, believing his fate was beyond his control. But he chose instead to focus on what he could manage: his mind, his thoughts, his responses. By doing so, he found freedom even in the most oppressive circumstances. That's the power of mastering your inner world. Now imagine this. It's one of those days when sadness and despair hit hard. Maybe you're dealing with a significant loss, or you feel like nothing makes sense. Each negative thought feels like another lost tourist shouting in your mind, "I'm not enough. I'll never get through this. There's nothing I can do." It's easy to get stuck there, believing that this chaos is your reality. But here's something that can help you step out of that storm. Have you ever heard of the box technique? It's a simple yet powerful tool. Picture your thoughts as objects taking up all your mental space. Identify them one by one. I'm sad because I feel like I failed at this. I can't see a way out of my current situation. I'm scared of what's coming. Now, imagine a box in front of you. This box isn't about denying your emotions, but creating a safe place to store them while you regain your strength. Write those thoughts down on paper one by one and place them in the box. Then close the lid. Make a deal with yourself. You won't open that box until you're ready to face what's inside. For now, the box gives you permission to focus on the present. Why does this work? Because it gives your mind a break. Psychology supports this idea. A study published in the Journal of Cognitive Therapy found that externalizing worries reduces the emotional intensity tied to them. It's as if, by putting those thoughts in the box, you strip them of their power to overwhelm you. This allows you to see things more clearly and start breaking free from the cycle of despair. My friend, let me be honest. The box won't suddenly take away all your sadness and despair. It's not a magic box, but it will give you the space you need to face those emotions with greater calm. Imagine how you'll feel when you clear out all those negative thoughts. You'll start to notice small lights in the darkness, and step by step you'll move toward a place where sadness weighs less and hope begins to grow. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the thought that's making the most noise in your mind and needs to go into your box? Share it in the comments. Sharing might just be the first step to letting it go. We're here to listen. 4. Patience is your strength. Patience. Imagine planting a seed in the soil. You water it carefully day after day, but you don't see anything grow, just dry earth. Would you give up and pull it out? Of course not. You know that, even if you can't see it. Something is happening beneath the surface. Sadness and despair are like that dry soil. It seems like they'll never bear fruit, but if you persevere, you'll discover strong roots growing beneath it all. Let me share a story about a friend of mine because I think it might help you. He went through something incredibly hard. He lost his partner in a sudden accident. He told me it felt like life had lost all meaning, as if the entire world had gone dark. Despair had completely taken hold of him, and for weeks he couldn't imagine how to move forward. But little by little, something began to change. It wasn't some grand moment of revelation, but small, steady steps. He started doing simple things, like writing about his feelings in a journal or going for short walks each day. He admitted that he didn't see immediate results, but he needed to do something, anything. He didn't want to stay stuck in that pain. And over time, that patience, that commitment to small daily gestures, helped him see that moving forward was possible. And do you know where he learned this? You guessed it, by reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. He learned what Marcus wrote. Waiting patiently, without complaints, is what allows you to overcome any difficulty. And no, patience didn't mean sitting around watching time pass. It meant accepting that everything has its rhythm, without despair, but also without standing still. Now imagine Marcus Aurelius filled with deep sadness after losing part of his empire. The emptiness is overwhelming, and despair threatens to consume him. What does he do? Instead of letting himself be dragged down by the pain or trying to ignore it, he accepts that sadness as part of the process. He takes time to reflect, writes in his meditations to organize his thoughts, and finds comfort in small daily actions. He can't speed up healing, but he can prepare himself for when it comes. That's active patience, not denying the pain but living with it while you work to strengthen your mind and spirit. Now think about yourself. Imagine you're in a tough moment. Maybe you've been job hunting for weeks with no responses, or you're going through a breakup that feels endless. Every day feels the same, like you're trapped in an endless cycle. This is where patience becomes your greatest strength, not because it magically fixes everything, but because it helps you endure while things slowly begin to change. So how can you start cultivating this patience? First, redefine how you see your situation. Instead of telling yourself, "Nothing is moving forward," think, "I'm in the process." Changing the way you talk to yourself can lighten the weight of despair. Next, set small goals. If sadness is overwhelming you, don't focus on fixing everything at once. Start with the simplest tasks. Make a meal, take a short walk, or write down a positive thought. Every small step is like a drop filling the glass. And don't forget to give yourself visible reminders of your progress. It could be as simple as a journal, where you write down one achievement each day, no matter how small, or a jar where you place a note for every step you take toward healing. Every time you look at it, you'll remember your progress and it will restore your hope. My friend, patience isn't just a virtue for wise elders. It's a tool we all need to cultivate. It's the secret weapon for transforming sadness into strength and despair into clarity. Trust the process, because in the end, that seed you planted will start to bear fruit, reminding you that every drop, every moment, every effort was worth it. 5. Change how you see things. Have you noticed that your mind is like a loudspeaker? Yes, you heard that right. A loudspeaker that amplifies small problems until they seem like giants. Sadness and despair often work the same way. It's like wearing fogged-up glasses that make everything appear darker than it really is. What could be a minor setback feels like a total failure. What could be a lesson you see as a punishment. But listen, here's the secret. You can't change what happens around you, but you can change how you choose to interpret it. And that small shift can make all the difference. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, summed it up perfectly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Think about that. It's not the comment someone makes, the gray day, or the loss itself that determines how you feel. It's the story you create about it. And here's the good news. You can rewrite that story. Psychologist Rafael Santandré said something that stuck with me. In his book, The Art of Not Making Yourself Miserable, he explains that it's not what happens to us that brings us down, but how we decide to interpret it. Honestly, I stopped to think, did Santandré write this or was it Epictetus? Because it's the same powerful mindset. Santandré points out that often, we're the ones fueling our sadness and despair by telling a tragic story about what's happening to us. For example, he mentioned a case of someone who lost their job. At first, this person saw it as a total failure, as if they'd hit the end of the road. But with some help, they began to see the situation from another angle. What if this loss was an opportunity to start something new, something they were truly passionate about? Changing how they viewed the problem didn't solve everything overnight, let's be real. But it gave them the strength to take action and climb out of the hole they felt stuck in. If you're feeling overwhelmed by sadness and despair, reflect on what Santandré said. The key is to question your thoughts. When something feels crushing, ask yourself, is this really as bad as I think? Or am I blowing it out of proportion? Sometimes when you do this, you realize that your thoughts aren't as terrifying as they seem. It's like adjusting the lens through which you see your life. Change the focus and suddenly the picture becomes clearer. So, my friend, what story are you telling yourself right now? If the narrative in your head is dragging you down, remember, you can change it. In the end, changing how you see things doesn't just transform your emotions. It gives you the power to overcome any sadness or despair you face. 6. Remember that everything passes. Let me tell you something I learned from marathon runners. There's a moment in almost every long race they call the wall. It usually hits around the 30th kilometer, when the body is exhausted, the mind starts sabotaging you, and every step feels like a monumental effort. Many runners, when they reach this point, think about quitting. But those who push through have one thing in common. They remind themselves that the pain is temporary, that everything passes, and that the finish line is waiting. Do you know why I'm telling you this, my friend? Because the same is true for the sadness and despair you're feeling right now. I want you to remember this. Everything passes. Even the darkest moments have an end. And if you can change the way you face that emotional wall, you'll take the first step toward overcoming it. What did the Stoics do to get through their own walls? Because don't be mistaken, they felt them too. Epictetus, with his wisdom, put it this way: everything that has a beginning also has an end. What does that mean? That life is in constant motion. The good times don't last forever. But here's the important part: neither do the bad times. You have to see sadness and despair as that wall in the marathon, a tough stretch. Does it feel endless? Yes, absolutely. But will it end? Also, yes. It's just a stage. If you keep moving forward, even slowly, you'll get past it. So, how can you apply this to your life? Start with something as simple as a mantra. This too shall pass. Write it somewhere visible. Repeat it in your mind when you feel overwhelmed. It's not magic, but it's a constant reminder that what you're experiencing now won't last forever. Next, focus on small steps, not the entire journey. If the weight of sadness is too heavy, don't try to solve everything at once. Focus on the smallest step you can take right now. Maybe it's getting out of bed, making yourself breakfast, or taking a short walk. Every action, no matter how small, is a way to keep moving forward. And don't forget to find your own finish line. It could be a short-term goal, like finishing a book, organizing something in your home, or learning a new skill. Having something to focus on helps you keep your eyes on the future instead of getting stuck in the present. My friend, remember that, just like in a marathon, what you're feeling right now isn't the destination. It's just a part of the journey. And if you keep moving forward, even slowly, you'll reach the finish line. Everything passes. It always does. You just need to trust that every step counts. 7. Be grateful even in adversity. Close your eyes for a moment and think about this. When was the last time someone gave you a genuine smile? Maybe it was the barista handing you your coffee, or someone holding the door open for you. These small, almost invisible moments often go unnoticed, especially when sadness and despair cloud our days. But here's the trick. Those little things are like rays of sunshine breaking through the thickest clouds. Have you ever stopped to notice them? Practicing gratitude isn't about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about learning to see those glimmers of light, even on the darkest days. And yes, my friend, it can change everything. I know what you're thinking. How am I supposed to be grateful when everything is going wrong? And I get it. It's probably the last thing on your mind when you feel that way. But listen, gratitude isn't about ignoring the bad. It's like a flashlight in the darkness. You focus on what you can see and use that light to find your way forward. Epictetus put it simply: gratitude is the recognition of goodness received. You don't need grand gestures or perfect days to be grateful. In fact, true gratitude arises in difficult moments when you learn to appreciate the small things. The coffee that warms you in the morning, a kind word from someone unexpected, or even the fact that you're here, facing another day. To show you it's possible, let me share a story. A while back, I met a man who had lost everything in a fire: his house, his belongings, everything. When I spoke with him, I expected to hear despair, but what surprised me was how he described the experience. He said, It was devastating, but after a few days, I realized something. I hadn't lost everything. My family was safe, my neighbors supported me, and every day I woke up, I saw that I still had the chance to start over. His gratitude didn't come from what he had lost, but from what he still had, and that perspective gave him the strength to rebuild his life even stronger. Are you convinced yet that gratitude can help? Good. Then here's how you can start. Before bed, think of one thing you're grateful for from that day. But here's the key. Don't just name it. Ask yourself, why am I grateful for this? What impact did it have on my day? For example, if you're grateful for a conversation, reflect on how it made you feel more connected or what you learned from the experience. Another trick? Use an object as a gratitude anchor. It could be a ring, a bracelet, or even the coffee mug you use every morning. Every time you see it or hold it, take a second to think of something you're grateful for. It's a simple way to train your mind to look for the positive, even in the midst of chaos. Will gratitude solve all your problems? Probably not, but it will give you the focus you need to keep moving forward. Don't you think it's worth a try? Because even in the darkest moments, there's always something to be grateful for. And when you find that light, no matter how small, you'll realize you have more strength than you thought to weather any storm. 8. Build your emotional strength. Imagine being in New York City on September 11th, 2001. The chaos, the fear, the loss. For those who were there, it seemed impossible to think of anything beyond the pain and uncertainty. Yet something incredible happened afterward. A psychologist named George Bonanno decided to study how people coped with that tragedy and discovered something fascinating. More than half of those affected, even those who experienced the trauma up close, managed to move forward without severe lasting effects. The key? They didn't avoid the pain, they faced it, learned from it, and used it to grow stronger. Sadness, my friend, can feel like a wall stopping you in your tracks. But it can also be the chisel that shapes your character, if you choose to use it. As Seneca once said, the strongest person is the one who has faced the greatest challenges. The Stoics understood that adversity isn't just inevitable. It's necessary to build inner strength that prepares you for whatever comes. Seneca lived this truth. In his exile, instead of succumbing to despair, he used the time to reflect and grow. And you? What can you learn from what you're going through right now? Let's put it in perspective. Imagine you've just failed at an important project, something you poured your energy into and hoped would change your life. That feeling of emptiness, of having lost everything, can seem insurmountable. But here's the key. Instead of getting stuck in, "Why did this happen to me?" ask yourself, "What can I do with this?" That small shift in focus can turn your sadness into an opportunity for growth. How can you start building that mental strength? First, practice emotional flexibility. This doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means adapting to them. If one day you feel too overwhelmed, take a break and recharge. But do it with purpose. Come back clearer and more focused. And when you have a moment of clarity, don't let it slip by. Take concrete steps to rebuild your path. For example, review the strengths of your project and think about how you can use them in your next attempt. Or seek support from someone who can offer a fresh perspective. Another powerful tool is writing. Take 10 minutes to put into words what you felt when facing this failure. Be honest. Don't judge yourself. Then, write down one thing you've learned from the experience. For example, if the project failed because you didn't have enough time, think about how you could manage your schedule better next time. Why is this exercise so effective? It helps you release what you're holding inside, like opening a window in a closed room, letting fresh air in and clearing out what no longer serves you. But it also allows you to uncover small lessons and actionable steps you can take. And when you read back what you wrote, you might notice patterns or even achievements you had overlooked. Because even when everything seems negative, there's always something to salvage. Building emotional strength doesn't mean you'll never feel sadness again. It means learning to use it as an ally, not an enemy. It's like a runner who doesn't fear the pain of training, but uses it to grow stronger with every step. You can do the same, because, as Seneca said, every challenge you face has the potential to make you stronger than before. And believe me, my friend, you have more strength inside you than you realize. 9. Reconnect with nature. Can you feel that? The relief that only comes from breathing fresh air, feeling the sun on your face, and hearing the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind. It's a moment where everything seems to pause, as if nature has the power to calm even the fiercest storms in our minds. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you let yourself experience that? The Stoics didn't just admire nature, they studied it like a teacher. To them, nature was the perfect example of serenity and adaptation. Rivers don't stop when they encounter a rock, they simply flow around it. Trees don't resist the changing seasons, they accept them, shedding their leaves in autumn and blooming again in spring. That ability to keep moving, to adapt and find balance was something the Stoics tried to imitate in their own lives. And us? In the middle of stress and sadness, we forget that we too can learn to flow. Now imagine this. You've spent days cooped up, trapped in your thoughts, replaying everything that hasn't gone the way you hoped. Sadness and despair feel like a fog, clouding your vision. Let's be honest, it happens to all of us. We get so caught up in the noise of daily life, surrounded by screens and worries, that we forget about nature. And yet, it's all around us. But here's the hard truth. Forgetting nature comes at a cost. That disconnection leaves us more vulnerable to sadness and despair. It's like neglecting a plant. You don't notice it wilting right away, but over time the leaves start to fall. What once was full of life now feels empty. The same thing happens with nature. We need it. And when we ignore it, we disconnect from ourselves too. Author and speaker Richard Louv calls this the nature deficit. He compares it to a health checkup where you discover you're lacking iron or a crucial vitamin. You feel tired or drained but don't realize what you're missing until it becomes clear. Louv suggests something simple, walking barefoot on grass or sand, something he calls earthing. It's like taking a supplement, but instead of a pill, you're getting it straight from the earth. Each step is like giving your body and mind the nourishment they need to feel better. It might sound silly, but it works. And the best part? It's free. All you need are your feet and a little bit of nature. So, are you ready to reconnect with nature? I've got a challenge for you. Tomorrow, carve out a few minutes for yourself and step outside. Find a green space, no matter how small. It could be a park, a forest, or even a little corner in your neighborhood with a tree. Turn off your phone and let your senses awaken. Listen to the sounds, feel the air, and watch how everything around you continues to flow, no matter what's happening in your life. Then make it a ritual. Walk barefoot. Remember, feeling the direct contact with the earth has a powerful effect. And if there are people around, don't feel embarrassed. Who knows? You might inspire someone else to try it too. If you take on this challenge, you'll notice something incredible. You'll feel your mind slowly calm, as if reconnecting with nature helps you find a refuge within yourself. You might feel lighter, more centered, and gain a fresh perspective on what's troubling you. And when you do, come back here and tell us in the comments how it made you feel. What surprised you the most? We'd love to hear how this connection with nature made a difference in your day. 10. Live in the present. Have you noticed how much energy you waste thinking about things you can't change? It's like carrying a backpack full of rocks, one for every mistake from the past and another for every fear about the future. And do you know what happens? That weight drags us down, trapping us in sadness and despair. Listen closely, my friend, because you can't let your guard down. If you keep carrying that burden, you're not just missing out on the most valuable moments of your life, you're also feeding the emotions that paralyze you. Even Marcus Aurelius made it clear. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Let's be honest, you don't have 10,000 years. No one does. We like to think we're superhuman with the luxury to throw time away. But beware, every minute you spend caught up in what was or what could be is another minute sadness and despair gain the upper hand. The good news? You can change that. You can return to the present, the only place where those emotions lose their power. The Stoics understood this perfectly. To them, the present wasn't just a moment. It was the only place where life happens. You couldn't live in the past because it's gone, nor in the future because it doesn't exist yet. Life is here, in what you're doing right now. If Marcus Aurelius were in your shoes, he wouldn't waste time dwelling on Friday's argument. He'd briefly reflect, learn something useful, and then focus on what truly matters. The now. Let me tell you about Bronnie Ware, an Australian nurse who spent years working with terminally ill patients. Bronnie wrote a book based on the regrets her patients shared in their final days. Do you know what one of the most common regrets was? I wish I had lived more in the present. They didn't say they wished for more money or success. Instead, they regretted spending so much time worrying about things that, in the end, didn't matter. Bronnie learned from them and decided to do something different. Focus on what she has, here and now. Do you see? By living in the present, Bronnie found a way to free herself from the weight of emotions she couldn't change. Now imagine this. It's Monday, and instead of enjoying your breakfast, you're replaying that argument you had on Friday. Or worse, you're stressing about how to solve something that hasn't even happened yet. The sadness of the past and the uncertainty of the future are teaming up to steal your day. But here's the key. The present is the only moment where you can change how you feel. When you focus on what you have now, those emotions lose their grip. The present has the power to bring back the calm and clarity you need. So, how can you start living in the present and overcome the sadness that weighs you down? It's simpler than you think. Whenever you notice your mind wandering to the past or the future, ask yourself this question: where am I right now? Literally describe the place you're in and what you're doing. For example, I'm sitting on the couch holding a warm cup of coffee. The sun is shining outside and I can hear the birds. This simple exercise is like planting your feet on the ground when your mind wants to drift toward things you can't control. Remember this: sadness and despair thrive on the fertile ground of what ifs and why didn't I? But when you choose to live only in the present, you close that door and find something far more valuable: peace, clarity, and strength. 11. Surround yourself with people who uplift you. Think of the people around you as if they were the sun. Some, like vitamin D, strengthen you, fill you with energy, and help you grow, even on your cloudiest days. And then there are those who, like a constant shadow, block that light and leave you stuck in a cold, dark corner. These are the ones you need to avoid. They don't help. What you need, my friend, are those who act like rays of sunshine, people who nourish you and help you flourish. And no, I didn't make this up. Psychologist and psychiatrist Marian Rojas Estape calls them vitamin people. These are the ones who recharge you. They make you feel stronger and more optimistic, even in the toughest times. They're not perfect, but they have something special. They inspire you, support you, and most importantly, help you see the best in yourself, even when you can't. Think of it this way. Marcus Aurelius, as emperor, had access to all kinds of people. Yet he chose to surround himself with philosophers, wise advisors, and mentors who helped him stay focused and calm amid the greatest challenges. He didn't seek flattery or people who would drag him into unnecessary worries. Instead, he cultivated relationships that helped him reflect, learn, and remain steadfast in his principles. Mutual affection among people is the foundation of our nature, Marcus Aurelius said. What can we learn from him? If you're surrounded by negative people who don't add value to your life, that negativity will inevitably rub off on you. But if you choose to surround yourself with those who inspire and lift you, your mindset and life will transform. Now that you understand the importance of surrounding yourself with uplifting people, those who inspire and lift you even in your darkest days, let me give you some practical ideas to find and keep them close. First, learn to recognize your vitamin people. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. If you leave with a smile or a sense of relief, that person is clearly a vitamin person. But if you feel drained or sadder, it's a sign that the relationship isn't adding value. Ask yourself, does this person inspire me or weigh me down? Second, seek them out in the right places. If you don't feel like you have uplifting people around you, start looking in spaces where positive energy thrives. For example, if you enjoy sports, joining a walking or yoga group can connect you with people who value well-being. In these environments, you're more likely to find people who add energy and positivity to your life. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, become a vitamin person yourself. You'll attract similar people if you practice empathy and genuine support. Do small things, like sending an encouraging message or being available to listen when someone needs it. Creating a positive environment around you will naturally draw uplifting people into your life. Vitamin people aren't magical, but they have the power to transform your mood and help you overcome sadness and despair. And let me add this, if someone doesn't add to your life, at the very least, they shouldn't subtract from it. Learn to set boundaries with those who drain your energy, because protecting your well-being is just as important as surrounding yourself with those who strengthen you. And now, we've reached the most important point of all, the one that could completely change how you face sadness and despair. Get ready, because this final piece of advice won't just bring you clarity, it could transform your life. Are you ready to discover it? 12. Love everything you live. Let me tell you a story that might change the way you see your life. A farmer lived in a small village. One day, his only horse ran away. The neighbors came to console him, saying, "What bad luck?" But the farmer calmly replied, "Good luck, bad luck, only time will tell." A few days later, the horse returned, bringing with it a herd of wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, "What good luck?" But the farmer again replied, "Good luck, bad luck, only time will tell." Shortly after, his son tried to tame one of the wild horses but fell and broke his leg. The neighbors, worried, said, "What bad luck?" And the farmer once again replied, "Good luck, bad luck, only time will tell." Weeks later, the army came through, recruiting all the young men for a war. And what happened to the son? They left him behind because he was injured. What seemed bad turned out to be good, and what seemed good had unexpected consequences. Now let me ask you something. How many times have you felt like a difficult situation was pulling you deeper into sadness and despair? It's normal. It happens to all of us. But here's the key. Those situations that seem unbearable can also become the spark that ignites something greater. If you only focus on the pain, you stay stuck. But if you accept it and embrace it as part of your journey, you can transform it. It's what the Stoics called amor fati, accepting and loving your fate with everything it brings. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Everything you face can be fuel to strengthen you." And that's exactly what amor fati means, seeing even the darkest moments as part of something bigger, something that can make you stronger. When you embrace this idea, sadness loses its weight, and despair becomes an opportunity for growth. Think about it. What if you started loving every difficult experience and saw it as an opportunity? Sadness could be a reminder to focus on what truly matters. Despair, though it feels unbearable, could push you to find a purpose you hadn't seen before. It's like land scorched by fire. At first it seems devastated, but over time it becomes fertile soil for something new to grow. Want to know how to do it? The first step is to start romanticizing your life. Why drink a cup of coffee in the morning without a second thought, when you could turn it into a moment to reflect on the day ahead? As you sip it, say something like, "Today I accept everything that comes my way because I know it's part of my story." By romanticizing these small moments, you're practicing amor fati in a tangible way. Another thing you can do? Write a letter to your life. Yes, to your life. Thank it for the good moments, but also acknowledge what you've learned from the hard times. For example, you could write something like, "Thanks to that loss, I discovered how strong I can be." This simple exercise will help you connect with your journey from a new perspective. Loving everything you live isn't just an abstract idea. It's a daily practice that can transform how you see your life. Even if it seems insignificant, it's the first step toward overcoming sadness and rewriting your story. I invite you to embrace every moment of your life, even the ones that seem the darkest. Let every experience, every challenge, be an opportunity to grow and find strength within yourself. Love your journey, because in every step, no matter how difficult, lies the chance to transform your story and build something greater. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "I embrace what life gives me," as a reminder that every challenge is an opportunity to grow. That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are who made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like so you don't miss out on what's coming next. I also invite you to check out our playlist, which you'll see on the screen. It's packed with ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click it, and let's keep moving forward together. Until next time, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.